If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. I know everybody's excited because it's not just a call for an uprising. It's a call for a science guy. Again.
Science rules.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Inertia is a property of matter.
Bill.
That's right. I thought I'd bring my science expertise here, and we all know. Lots of science expertise on my end. No, joking aside, I am aware of what's going on involving nanoparticles and human beings. And there are many people out there that think it's crazy, and that's okay. They're entitled to their opinion. See, unlike other people, I'm okay with people having a difference of opinion. So I want to share this with you about nanoparticles. Remember we talked about that green, I keep calling it green, the black goo, the graphene, right? Remember that stuff? Well, you might remember about a year ago, maybe it was 2 years ago, I did videos talking about this really interesting nanoparticle that just happened to have the word Lucifer in it, called Luciferase nanotechnology. Remember that? Yeah, the word Lucifer is in the word. There is nothing to be suspicious about at all. So some of you might not be familiar with it at all. Well, it's a nanotechnology, and it could actually enable things to glow in the dark. Let me show you what cool science experiments were done on plants.
By embedding specialized nanoparticles into the leaves of watercress plants, MIT engineers have been able to induce the plants to give off a dim light for nearly 4 hours. And they believe that with further optimization, such plants will one day be bright enough to illuminate an entire workspace. Imagine that instead of switching on a lamp when it gets dark, you could read by the light of a glowing plant on your desk.
Oh, wouldn't that neat? So instead of using, electricity, and even if your power's out, a candle, screw that. We could just have things glow. What about the possibility of humans glowing? Wouldn't that be interesting too? Now, before I get into that, you might remember a book that they forced people to read. Now, I didn't read it, but I'm pretty sure it was forced learning in school. I think I read the back of the book and then wrote a book report based on the back of the book. But it was called The Scarlet Letter. Remember? And people would be marked, right? You might even recall in the Bible, people marking their doors with lamb's blood, right? Well, markings, right? Well, Scarlet Letter, let's go that route with the markings on people, right? To identify them from each other so you could tell who's this and who's that, right? Well, let's use that thinking and then look at this really interesting technology involving all of a sudden, by accident, street lights are now becoming black lights? Oh, that's right.
Morning, some Charlotte street lights are giving new meaning to the term purple haze. You may have noticed it yourself, maybe driving around the Queen City at night. Some street lights are actually purple. Fox 46's Brett Baldick is live along Moorhead Street with the answer into why this is happening. It's not on purpose, is it, Brett?
It's not. Good morning, Jason. So we did find some of these purple lights this morning here on West Moorhead Street, right in front of the Arlo apartments. It's getting a little bit brighter, but you can see they do have a little bit of a blue purplish tint to them. As we mentioned, they're not supposed to be like this, so we reached out to Duke Energy, and they explained what is happening. The Queen City is lit by thousands of streetlights, which are maintained by Duke Energy. Within the past few years, some lights have been upgraded to a more energy-efficient LED version, like these that give off a slightly blue or clear color. Some are still the old model and appear orange. But then there are these lights, giving off a purple tint.
We just moved here recently from Charleston, and it was kind of the first thing I noticed because I thought it was so out of place.
A quick Google search claims purple LEDs are good for the skin, but why should that matter when you're driving?
No clue. It's just really strange.
According to Duke Energy, these purple lights are a defect. The manufacturer of the LEDs say the defect gradually causes the lights to turn purple. Right now, the issue affects several thousand lights across central and western North Carolina. Duke Energy leaders say that accounts for about 1.4% of all LED streetlights. And now that people know they're considered rare, spotting a purple light is turning into a competition.
Oh, 100%. I'm going to look for all of them now.
Interesting, isn't it? I mean, that must be an accident. Of course, they're telling us that all this money went into these black lights. They weren't tested at all. They just shipped them out. And then even before testing them, they went all the way up the light poles, stuck them in, turned them on, let them run. Or was it the fact that people were saying things about it because they haven't eased people in to being prepared for this type of lighting, this new type of really cool, lighting that's going to change things. It's going to be easier to see. It's going to be more energy efficient. You see, all they have to do is come out and tell you that over and over. Then everybody goes, okay, that sounds fine. I don't need it to be regular. We changed our light bulbs. Now we have more energy efficient bulbs to protect the environment and everything else. And I have a lower electric bill. Oh, okay. But instead, they actually just rolled this out and didn't really do a good job of telling people why. So they're pretending like sorry, we put these all over the state. We'll remove them and put in other ones. Then we'll come out with a reason why they should be this color. And everyone will say, okay. So you're probably saying, well, what is that? What does one have to do with the other? Okay, so lucifers, you could glow. Now we're going to have black lights all over our cities. And okay. And then I don't know. I remember seeing this guy... He was taking a magic potion or something like that. And then look at his arm.
Worried. This is where I got the shot, the second shot. Look at this. It's glowing. Now I go down my arm and it gets worse. I have a little dot here, but the worst part, look at the vein in my hand. It glows. That is sick. Why is this doing this? Can someone tell me?
Oh, interesting. Even in his veins. Neato. So if you take the mindset of the Scarlet Letter and you see how people are going to be labeled and marked, this is a way you can differentiate people. Isn't that crazy? But here, this is just a science experiment. I'm talking about the nanoparticles and how neat they are. And then, of course, somehow, this cool Lucifer, our dream, I don't know about you. My dream's always been to glow in the dark, other than being an optometrist. So it would be really cool if I could glow in the dark. So sure, give me some of that. I'll take some, and then I can go. Oh, right, it was a plant that was glowing in the dark, right? Just imagine, though, if they could do that somehow to people, but you'd say, well, how are people going to agree with that? Well, I mean, right, how are people going to, wait a minute. Now, why would people put something they don't know what it is in their body? Okay, right. And if it makes them glow, would they be suspicious? No, they wouldn't. Nope, sure wouldn't. Sure wouldn't. If magnets stuck to their arms, would they be suspicious? Nope, they would not. Nope. Why? Because there's no functioning brain in their heads. And that's the moral, really, of today's episode of The Science Guy. Is there's no brains in most people's heads. So when you connect dots and you look at things like this, and then you think about how do they want to be able to differentiate who has it and who doesn't, who has cooties, who's a disease to society. Well, you tell me, is it suspicion? Is it conspiracy? Or does it make perfect sense? That's for you to decide. I wanted to point those dots out on today's special show of A Call for a Science Guy, and you can be the judge. But it's interesting that they want that these nanoparticle things, lucifers, and really interesting name, of course. I'm sure that was a coincidence. They came up with it not based on anything with the Bible. They were just like, we're going to call it that because it's really the guy who came up with the idea. It was his uncle's cousin's last name, right? And nobody was like, yeah, you might want to name it something else. not naming after the devil. No, not at all. Because it's all right in front of your face for you to see. It's all happening right now. Yet people still think that the world is filled with crazy conspiracy theorists like me and you. When in reality, it's filled with a lot of naive fools. And we have to live amongst them. But all you can do is better yourself by learning and educating yourself and by saying no. That's the moral of today's story. I want to remind everyone to check out the website at callforunuprising.com.